Welcome to Rebel Roundup, ladies and gentlemen, and the rest of you, in which we look back at some of the very best commentaries of the week by your favorite Rebels. I'm your host, David Menzies. Wow, check out that new whiz-bang marketing campaign by Montreal-based Simons. The retail chain isn't promoting its line of clothing nor home goods, rather it's promoting suicide? What the hell? Sheila Gunn-Reid has all the gruesome details. Do you remember the horrific case of Candice Sarro, the elderly Indigenous woman who was trampled by a police horse in Ottawa back in February? Well, this just in, folks, the Special Investigations Unit is no longer investigating her case. Apparently, she wasn't maimed enough. Unbelievable. Our Montreal-based reporter, Alexa Lavoie, who was also injured in last February, thanks to police brutality, has all the details. And letters, we get your letters every minute of every day, and you had plenty to say about Justin Trudeau's Royal Canadian Mounted Henchmen looking like the Argos defensive line by once again physically preventing Prime Minister Blackface McGroper from hearing any insensitive questions from Rebel News. Those are your Rebels. Now let's round them up. This free episode of Rebel Roundup is brought to you by...
Are you tired of walking around for hours this time of year looking for the perfect Christmas gift for your loved ones? Well, have no fear. Rebel News Christmas merch is here. When it comes to putting a smile on the face of the patriots in your life this Christmas, our Rebel News store has everything you'll need. Just like that lady singing in church for Thanksgiving.
I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, ram, pork, dog, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkeys, rat, you name it!
We've got Christmas tees, Christmas hoodies, Christmas beanies. My personal favorite is the All I Want for Christmas is a New Prime Minister top. Can I get an amen in the back? But we also have the Rebel favorites that you can wear all year long, like our classic Is It Trudeau or Castro tee, or this new one that says free speech is a must. But warning in advance, the leftist Kevins and Karens of the world will be triggered. Now, if you head to rebelnewsstore.com right now, you can save. If you buy 2 unisex t-shirts, you get your third one free. All you have to do is use the coupon code Christmas and you're in business. And remember, everything that you buy at the rebelnewsstore.com not only blesses the loved ones you bought it for, it also helps support our independent journalism so we can keep on bringing you the other side of the story. Merry Christmas.
I think that social media, removing someone from the world around them, doesn't go far enough. Last year, a shocking 1 in 30 deaths in the country were due to assisted suicide. Now, if that statistic wasn't depressing enough, consider how it's being packaged to citizens there.
Last breaths are sacred. When I imagine my final days, I see bubbles. I see the ocean. I see music. Even now, as I seek help to end my life, there is still so much beauty. You just have to be brave enough to see it.
Talk about a dystopian, sick advertisement. But that's only part of the story. The company behind that ad is called Simons. They're a Canadian fashion and home goods retailer. They reportedly staged excursions for this young woman to film as some, brand building exercise. Here now is Sheila Gunn-Reid, editor-in-chief of Rebel News. She's running a national campaign to force the government to end this practice. Sheila, it seems to me that they're selling assisted suicide with a, very sophisticated, fun, kind of adventurous message. What the heck is going on up north?
Laura, I just want to thank you so much for your interest in this. Unlike the corporate media here in Canada that's been tainted by Justin Trudeau's bailouts, at Rebel News, we're one of the few independent outlets that can still speak about these issues freely, but also with the sense of horror the issue rightly deserves. We see companies do this all the time. We see them align themselves with government on issues like climate change and BLM and reproductive issues. They go woke. This is what it means to be woke in Canada now. So why wouldn't corporations align themselves with this next anti-human, anti-life thing? I just want to point out to you how extreme Canada is on this issue. Justin Trudeau's government has removed the 10-day wait time from when you ask for medical assistance in suicide and when you receive it. And you don't have to do it in writing. You can just verbally ask the state to kill you. To put this all into context, we had about 16,000 deaths in Canada related to COVID. Depends on how you count that, of COVID or with COVID, but it was 16,000 deaths. We know that there were 10,000 requests in writing for medically assisted suicide, and that doesn't take into account the deaths that occurred because somebody just verbally asked for it and received it on the very day that they asked for it. And when we say medical assistance in suicide, don't think for a second that that means a doctor's participating in this. It doesn't have to be your doctor. It can just be a medical professional. That might be a nurse that is seeing you today for the first time, or even a pharmacist that's helping you take a short trip off a long, or take a short trip off the earth. That's the state of affairs here in Canada.
Well, here's the CEO of Simons, the company that produced that pro-euthanasia campaign. Watch.
It's obviously not a commercial campaign. It's more an effort to use our freedom, our voice, and the privilege we have to speak and create. Companies have a responsibility to participate in communities and to help build the communities that we want to live in tomorrow and leave to our children.
Okay, so Sheila, how are we actually building communities if the goal is to help kill people? I'm not following this logic. That guy is weird, okay? He's just a weirdo. But assisted suicide now is the way to a better, more stable society. It sounds like something you'd hear out of the CCP.
Well, and what does this have to do with ladies' clothes? That man sells ladies' clothes. What does that have to do with anything? In Canada right now, if you annoy a government bureaucrat whose job it is to help you through your acute medical or psychological issues that you're experiencing on that very day, they will suggest to you that maybe you should just do us all a favor and help yourself to some sanctioned homicide. We know of at least 7 military veterans who have been experiencing acute PTSD, who were offered medical assistance in dying by Veterans Affairs. We also know about parents of sick babies who have been offered medical assistance in dying.
Oh, they want to get. It's like they want to get human life off the books. Yeah, well, they want to get human life that's inconvenient off the books. It's kind of obvious where this is all going if anyone wants to pay attention to what we're talking about here. Sheila, you're doing an invaluable service in Canada by raising the awareness about this. We're going to stay on this because if it's there, believe me, it's going to be growing as a movement in the United States as well. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow, having a bad day, going through a relationship breakup, perhaps suffering from PTSD. Hey, what's to discuss? Simply volunteer for assisted suicide and voila! All of your problems are over once and for all. No muss, no fuss. Sickening. And with her thoughts on this disturbing state of affairs is Rebel News chief reporter Sheila Gunn-Reid. How are you doing there, Sheila?
David, I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, that is fantastic. And what a great interview with Laura Ingraham of Fox News. And Sheila, so many angles here to unpack. But first of all, isn't Simons in the business of, selling clothes and home goods? How is it that a pro-suicide ad campaign is a so-called brand building exercise to begin with?
Well, they also said it was a community building exercise. And I was like, you're threatening to off the community. So I'm not quite sure how that's building the community when you're making sure there are fewer people in it. But we see this all the time, as I said to Laura. we see corporations align themselves with whatever government agenda is before them. We should be used to it now with regard to climate change. For some reason, your grocery store has the pride flag up with BLM shirts in Walmart, companies virtue signaling about reproductive rights when they should be just trying to sell you clothes and food. So we see this all the time. And this is just what it means now to be a woke corporation in Justin Trudeau's Canada. You also have to be a euthanasia extremist.
And Sheila, let me challenge you on that point because, the bottom line of being in business is indeed the bottom line. You want to make money. You want to embrace messaging and marketing campaigns and advertising that will attract consumers and move the merchandise. So the thing is, I'm just wondering, when it comes to this retailer, do you think they did market research? Do you think they did focus groups and they came to the conclusion that, hey, you know what? Taking a pro-suicide stance, that is going to help us move the merchandise? Or is this something being enacted upon by this CEO?
I definitely don't think that they enacted any sort of market research. Just ask Disney. These companies continue to go woke and go broke, and they really don't have a reset button until such time as Disney now, they've replaced their CEO because it's costing them extreme amounts of money and movies are flopping. But they never really asked the customer up until now whether or not they wanted all the social justice shoved down their throat. It became a point in which they were losing so much money that at the end of the day, capitalism wins. And I wonder, what's going to happen with Simons? Are they going to proceed down this road until finally somebody says, I'm never shopping there again, you pro-homicide weirdos? Enough people are going to have to do that until the CEO changes his mind about putting his personal politics in with, the corporate mandate.
No, you're so right. Right now, we're into December, Sheila. This is where retailers make the bulk of their profits over the year with the Christmas merchandise sales. And I'm just wondering if this ad campaign draws more customers to Simons, or it has the opposite effect. People are going, I'm not going there. In fact, I'm going to boycott this chain till it pulls its ads. How do you think this will play out if you were looking into a crystal ball right now?
I think the people who care will care and not go there. But I'm not sure that as a Canadian society, we are aware enough of just how radical we are on this issue. And, this is posted on, I think, the Simons YouTube page. I don't know about you, David, but I don't watch a lot of YouTube videos from a clothing company, generally speaking. So I'm not sure how widely this was viewed before it caught the nose of our American friends who said, this is crazy. What has this got to do with selling ladies' clothes? So I'm not sure that enough Canadians really will be outraged about this as much as I am. This beautification of people in their most darkest, desperate moments being offered something other than the help that they need to live on.
It really is incredible, Sheila, how this assisted suicide is really taking off. And, I think I might have mentioned this before. I look back at the science fiction film from 1973, Soylent Green, based on a book from 1965. And how much of that is coming true, such as not only is suicide in the future legal, but the remaining family members get benefits from the state. There is a food alternative, which is the title of the movie. I'm not going to give a spoiler here about what the food is. It's not insects. It's something even worse. And the funny thing is, the uncanny thing is, Sheila, is that Soylent Green is set in the here and now, 2022. And here we are seeing, yes, the state championing suicide. How did we get here in the first place?
It's a neat little thing that the government is doing here because they are the architects of the suffering of these people. And instead of fixing the system that creates the suffering, They say, you know what, let's just get you right out of the system altogether. And then they pat themselves on the back and call it compassion. State-sanctioned homicide these days is called compassion. Let's look at what's really happening here. And I think the veterans issue is a great example of this. So as we know, as we're told by our prime minister, our veterans are asking for more than he's willing to give. So they are shoehorned into a system that causes them undue suffering after they've served our country in uniform and have received psychological and physical injuries because of it. And so they reach out to the system we've stuck them in that is broken for help. And if you annoy a government bureaucrat a little too much on the other end of the line, they say, you know what, why don't you just do us all a favor and drop dead? Basically, they say it in nicer ways, but they say, you know, you're obviously suffering. Have you considered medical assistance in dying? So instead of fixing the system, the broken system that causes the suffering, they just get the people out of the system by exterminating people, offering them something they would never take on a better day. And, you know, it tidies up the loose ends for the government, and it spills over into all aspects of our lives. You know, I use the veterans example, but Canadian healthcare, really, the defining attribute of Canadian healthcare is suffering in the same lineup as everybody else. And then, again, instead of allowing innovation in the healthcare system, we say, you know what, there are too many people in this healthcare system. Let's get rid of a few.
No, you're quite right, Sheila. And I know Laura Ingraham really acted with a bit of shock when you talked about veterans being talked into taking their own life. I mean, it's so perversely ironic. I mean, they go overseas and you're not so much worried. I mean, of course, you're worried about the Taliban, the enemy, killing you. You have no idea that once you get back into Canada, it's going to be your own government trying to almost coerce you into taking your own life. And let's be clear, this is the opposite of empathy and compassion, Sheila. I think to the government, a retired soldier, a veteran, especially a veteran that has injuries preventing him from being redeployed, well, that's a liability on the books, if you will. That's a pension. That's, you know, a drain on the healthcare system, if you will. So why not just ask this guy to consent to suicide? And it's kind of like taking a line item off the books. I know that sounds callous, but that's what I think is going on here. Well, how else do you explain this, Sheila?
Sure. You know, and then you have people saying, you know, there are far too many people on the face of the earth. Let's get rid of the sick, the elderly, the infirm. Instead of offering people the help they need, the care they need, the actual compassion that they need, we are treating people like they are a plague upon the face of the earth. And I just find it so abhorrent. And it's so normalized. We've had doctors testify in parliamentary hearings that they should consider offering medical assistance in dying to babies who are sick, who are experiencing undue suffering, according to these doctors. Normal societies call that infanticide, and it caused such things as the fall of Rome. I don't know how our society can exist much longer when we have such a callous disregard for human life.
One last thing, Sheila, it's this rush to have the person take their own life, like no, reflection, no passage of time for maybe that person to say, you know what, I made a mistake. And there's a good friend that we both have, Andrew Lawton. I can tell you some 10 or 12 years ago, and he's been public about this.
Sure.
He was suffering so badly from depression, he actually attempted to take his own life. He failed. The thing is, he had a change of heart. He's gone on to have a fulfilling career. He's written a fantastic book just published a few months ago about the trucker convoy in Ottawa. And I know if you talk to Andrew, who is actually in the process of trying to check out, he is so happy that did not happen. I wonder how many people of the assisted suicides we've had in recent years, Sheila, that if given the opportunity of time, given counseling, just given the chance to have sober second thought, how many of those people would still be here today and say, you know what, I'm so glad I didn't go through with terminating my life?
the wait time is gone. The 10-day wait time is gone. And you don't even have to receive medical assistance in dying from a doctor that knows you. You don't have to be terminally ill. You can just be chronically ill. And come March 2023, you can be mentally ill. And that's all you need. So you can get medical assistance in dying right now from a pharmacist on the day you ask for it. That's it. There's no, as you say, sober second thought. And I'm sure we all know somebody in our lives who has committed suicide, because it is one of the leading causes of death for men, quite frankly. I have an interview this week with the veteran who ripped the Band-Aid and exposed what was happening at Veterans Affairs with these veterans. He's a podcaster. His name is Mark Meinke. He's from Alberta. And he testified at parliamentary hearings about this very issue. But he said this is so near and dear to his heart because he was experiencing a very acute PTSD episode not all that long ago. And he told me about it while we were in an interview. So I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say this. But he said it was just a momentary thing. And he came to his senses right after. And he was so happy that he didn't succeed. And I think all of us know somebody in our lives who has tried to harm themselves. And they have no regret, zero regret about surviving that attempt. And I think we have to give people the opportunity to survive whatever they're going through, instead of giving them a quick, easy, convenient way out for the people who are paid to help them.
Well, Sheila, it was a great piece, a great interview with Laura Ingraham. And I mean, to bring it back full circle, I don't know what Simons was thinking. Look, I don't wish that company nor its employees any ill will, but I think they're going to suffer from buyer's remorse about this. I would like to think that the vast majority of reasonable-minded Canadians aren't down with an ad campaign urging one to take their own life. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Last word goes to you, my friend.
Simons should have euthanized that ad campaign, and I hope the CEO just euthanized his career. If people want to sign my petition calling on the federal government to rethink their extreme pro-death radicalism, please go to helpnothomicide.com.
Fantastic. And that is helpnothomicide.com. Sheila, thank you so much, my friend. You have a wonderful weekend.
I will. You too, David.
Thank you. And that was Sheila Gunn Reid, somewhere in the Alberta northern hinterland. Keep it here, folks. More of Rebel Roundup to come right after this.
Check out this awesome new swag, Convoy Christmas Trucker Crew Neck sweatshirts equipped with some truck graphics and honks. You can find this sweatshirt and more at rebelnewsstore.com, where we currently have a deal taking place where you can get 2 unisex shirts and a third for free using code Christmas. It's sure to trigger any of your far left, radical, liberal family members during your Christmas gatherings, if they even show up, but of course will be appreciated by your freedom-minded, freedom-loving family members alike. So keep the gift that keeps on giving while you support our independent journalism, and find all of our new designs at rebelnewsstore.com. Don't forget to check out using code Christmas. When you buy 2 shirts, you'll get the third free. Thanks for your support, and have a very Merry Christmas.
On January 29, a peaceful protest came to Ottawa to demonstrate against the mandate and the overreach of the government in the life of Canadians. On February 14, Justin Trudeau had decided to invoke the never-before-used Emergencies Act, granting the RCMP special power to shut down the protest by force. Candice Serrault was present during the dismantling of the convoy, and she was trampled by the horse of the mounted police unit. The SIU The Special Investigation Unit have been mandated to investigate occurrences across Ontario involving all municipal, regional, and provincial police officers. Since many people have been injured as Candice, they have opened a file for Candice's several injuries. At the beginning of last April, we heard that the SIU had dropped the investigation because the injury was not enough severe. Candice, a First Nation woman who was holding the line at the first place, got hit by the horse of the Monty police and had been injured. And I came here today to learn about her story, how she felt at this moment, and what she has to say to us about it. Have a look.
I'm Candice Zero from Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory. It's about 2.5 hours southwest of here.
Alexa Lavoie for Ribbon News, and I'm in front of where the Public Order Emergency Commission is holding after more than a month and almost a half of every single day different witnesses who gave testimony about the invocation of the Emergencies Act on the 14th of February 2022 for dismantling a peaceful protest in Ottawa. I'm with, you will remember, Candice Sorrow. The investigation on Candice, on the SIU, have been dropped because they say that the injury of Candice was not enough severe to continue the investigation. So I'm here with her to not only give you an update, but also to know a little bit more about her situation. Hi, how are you?
I'm alive in here.
So since we saw the first time, you just been trampled by a horse, and now you're here alive in one piece. Can you explain?
Broken in one piece.
So can you explain what happened with the SIU?
The SIU, they did send me a letter stating that, yes, they can say I was hurt, but will be no more further investigation because I wasn't hurt enough.
We will show some picture of your bruise that you had that day, and we want to know a little bit, how did you feel when you received that letter saying that they would just drop the investigation?
At that point in time, when I was floored, very floored, like they had just swept it under the rug, so to speak. As all of Canada, worldwide, seen, yes, I did get trampled by a horse, and for them to say that I wasn't hurt is off the wall.
And we know how you feel because I saw you afterwards. You just went out of the hospital. You were in pain, you were injured, and I saw you.
And I am still in pain and injured, and everything isn't set right still.
Yeah, sorry about that, Miss Sarah, but your injuries weren't quite enough to garner further attention by the Special Investigations Unit. Oh, and you won't be needed to testify at the Emergencies Act inquiry either. They were much too busy interviewing Ottawa snowflakes who were triggered by horns blaring and diesel fumes. Unbelievable. And joining me now for more on this truly egregious situation is our Montreal-based reporter, and that would be Alexa Lavoie. Bonjour, Alexa.
Bonjour.
Now, Alexa, let me get this straight. Being trampled on by a horse does not warrant any further investigation. So what is the benchmark here? Broken bones, a heart attack, death? Alexa, surely the issue here is the use of the mounted unit galloping into a crowd of peaceful protesters, not the extent of one's injury. So why is that part of the story not being addressed?
Yeah, that was actually really outrage. And by the way, sorry everybody, I'm on the field and I'm actually covering another story. It's why I look like that. And it's, I don't know how minus it is in Quebec, but it's really cold. But yeah, for Candice, I was really shocked when I heard that the police just it's the SIU, is the special investigation that is supposed to be the one to investigate in municipal, regional, and police units. And when I heard that they just dropped the case just because they say the injury was not enough severe, but at the end of the day, she was trampled. This deserved like a full investigation on how a police have used a horse against a citizen. This is enough to actually open a file and continue the investigation on it. But I'm happy that when she said to me that she's going to go further and with the legal action and say like, I'm not going to let that down. I still suffer from my injury, and I don't want, and it's why she was a little bit like stressed to give me an interview, because she wanted to be sure that what she say was correctly said, because she didn't want it to say something that she should not say. So, but I am happy that she take like legal action, and we'll follow the case afterwards, like to see what's going on with Candice.
Oh, 100%, Alexa. I think there is indeed grounds for a civil lawsuit here. And even the way this story was initially played out, it was an absolute preposterous lie. Do you remember the police were saying words to the effect that a bicycle was thrown at the mounted unit or at a horse? What bicycle? Where? There's no evidence of this. There's no video footage of this. It seems to me, I'm sorry that the cops are lying about this. Why did they go down this route in the first place, Alexa?
But I think they didn't want it to alert the population, and they wanted to show like how great they were doing to dismantle like the occupation. So I think it's what they wanted to do. They really wanted to say, oh, no, nobody have been injured, and someone threw a bicycle. Who have a bicycle in the snow at minus, I don't know, like, I don't know. I don't like drive a bicycle at this time of the year, because it was freezing and it was like snowing. So for me, it's just like, it was just lie on lie, and it was just like a propaganda of disinformation and misinformation that was coming from everywhere. And I'm sorry, we saw it, and I was there when the horse went into the crowd. I was there. I didn't see Candice, but I was there when I saw the horse like just jumping straight, and I actually ran away, because I was like, oh my God, this horse, if the horse is getting panic, it's gonna just like trample everybody.
Yeah. And I'll actually make an excellent point about the disinformation and misinformation. This is what the authorities, this is what the government, this is what law enforcement was claiming the Trucker Freedom Convoy was all about. But the reverse is true. It's the people in charge. It is the law enforcement agencies. They are responsible for the misinformation and disinformation. And by the way, we have to point out, this was the mounted unit of the Toronto Police Service, I do believe. And the last time I saw those cats in action, they were shutting down Adamson's barbecue restaurant because, God forbid, Alexa, an illegal barbecue joint during COVID, when 400 meters away, Costco is serving food at its food service facility. I'm just wondering, is this mounted unit ever actually used against the bad guys?
I don't think that. I think this tactic have been only used when you have like really a terrorist attack or something like that, not on like peaceful citizen. And I didn't see like using like horses on a population before. I would say in my lifetime. I think that is really, really one of the most horrible things to do, not only for the citizen, but I'm just putting myself in the position of the horse. How panicking it should be, like just like being like forced to just like jump into a crowd, like, and this is like, I always say like suffering, like they are suffering, like the horse too, like in both sides, like people were suffering. And I'm just thinking like, which kind of police we have to use this kind of intervention? Like they had like some children and women in the crowd that had like maybe the chance to be hurt. And by the way, Candice is lucky she's not injured much more than that, because she had probably the chance to be dead right now, to be really like trampled like harder than that. So the investigation should be like not like how severe is the injury, but more like maybe she will be dead right now, but she was enough lucky to not be. And especially because they didn't help her afterwards. She told me like during my first interview that people actually bring her out of the crowd and bring her into the hospital, but not the police officer that just trampled her. And she was like on the snow by herself without being able to walk, because her walker was probably like I don't know, destroyed by the horse at that time.
Unbelievable, Alexa. And there's another element here. This is all about the SIU dropping its investigation. There's not enough carnage here, evidently. But when it comes to the Emergencies Act inquiry, here's my question: why wasn't Miss Serro called to testify? Why weren't you, my friend, called to testify? You got shot point blank with some kind of canister and ingested pepper spray. These were real injuries, not make-believe injuries like those citizens of Ottawa that complained about noise or complained about diesel fumes. Can you give an explanation, Alexa, why you and Miss Serro weren't witnesses to talk about, oh, I don't know, let's call it for what it is, police brutality?
But probably because we will like just prove that they are wrong when they say that nobody have been injured, or that the police did great their job. And I will say something like, when I saw Justin Trudeau during his testimony, like doing some speculation on maybe a grandmother will have been like run over by a truck, or like a police officer will be dead right now or killed. And I was like, oh, in the audience, you have like the woman that had been trampled by your police because you did invoke the Emergencies Act. And I get shot in the leg, and it seems like nobody cared. It's like, I have the impression that this whole world, it's upside down. Now, the good is the bad and the bad is the good.
You know what? I feel that way every day. And, you know, we should bring up, we discussed this point before, Alexa, but the following day, we went to the press conference at the Ottawa Police Service. It was Acting Chief Steve Bell that was conducting it, and I was right there with you. And I asked the question, how is the investigation into the shooting of Alexa Lavoie going on? And he said he was unaware of the incident, which indicates two things. He is ignorant because this was getting worldwide media attention. I mean, for goodness sakes, you had just been interviewed an hour earlier by Russian television, or he was lying through his teeth. He's well aware that you're shot. That's a serious thing. An officer discharging a firearm, A, and B, the projectile hitting a person. So I guess the big picture question, Alexa, is that when this inquiry report is tabled by February 20th, is it going to be a fair report, or, as they say in Vegas, is the fix in?
I think, I don't know, because it's really hard to say. Right now, what we can see so far, nothing makes sense and nothing is fair. So we saw a lot of lies, but we saw a lot of contradiction, a lot of chaos, and lots of like people were telling like the opposite thing. So who they will believe in all this story? Because some in the minister was saying different version of what really happened and what I've been really say. So who believing who? And so I'm actually thinking that at the end of the all this, they would say that Mr. Trudeau did the right thing, and everybody know that he didn't, and it was like impulsive, and it was like using power that he probably don't deserve.
Yeah. Well, Alexa, great interview, great report. I always look for the silver lining. I think in this case, it is thank goodness that horse didn't trample Miss Cerro on the head. Otherwise, she might not be with us. And likewise, had that canister hit you in the head as opposed to your thigh, maybe we'd be talking about you in the past tense as well. But both injuries, both attacks were completely unnecessary, much like the invocation of the Emergencies Act itself. Let's hope we never see that kind of brutality again. Thank you so much, Alexa, and you have a good weekend, my friend.
Can I just add something? Because you will probably have so much people writing to you about the man with the brown jacket. The man with the brown jacket, I don't know if he was really trampled, really injured, but I know that it seems that he doesn't want to be identified, because it's not the first time we try to approach and ask for more information about him. Maybe he was there and he didn't want it to be recognized and be mixed with the convoy for security of job, or I don't know. But if someone knows something about the brown jacket man who was the second person to be trampled, please reach out to Rebel News and share it widely.
Yeah, let's hope we find out what his story is. But, you know, Alexa, given the this day and age we're in our dark dominion under Justin Trudeau, maybe the man in the brown jacket is simply scared to come forward, doesn't want his bank accounts frozen, doesn't want to be bugged, which is what has been happening in the aftermath of the Freedom Convoy protest. Sometimes I really don't recognize this country anymore under these Justin Trudeau Liberals. But again, like I said, Alexa, you have a happy and safe weekend.
You too.
Okay. Take care, Alexa. And that was Alexa Lavoie, somewhere in the area of Montreal. Keep it here, folks. We are going to come back to you with Rebel Roundup right after this. Hey folks, check out the newest arrival to the Rebel News store. Yes, F is for Fidel and F is for father. I mean, could it be? Yes, half this photo, the colored half, is Justin Trudeau. The black and white half is a young Fidel Castro. Wait now, or is it vice versa? It's so confusing. I'm a huge Forensic Files fan. Wouldn't it be great if we could have piece of Justin's DNA and a piece of Fidel's DNA and put the rumor to bed once and for all? But in the meantime, we'll just have to walk around wearing this shirt, hinting at a great Canadian conspiracy. Or is it? In any event, if you want to get this shirt, folks, go to the Rebel News store and check this out. Type in our new discount code, that's SUMMER, SUMMER, and if you buy 2 unisex t-shirts, you get an additional one for free. What a deal. Like I said, Justin Trudeau, Fidel Castro, as they used to say on the ABC detergent ads. Can you tell the difference? I can't tell the difference. David Menzies for Rebel News here in Toronto. And folks, I'm at the Pan Pacific Hotel with ace cameraman Lincoln J. We were tipped off that the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, is going to show up for some sort of a schmooze fest here. Hopefully he's not going to give away hundreds of millions of dollars of Canadian money, Canadian taxpayer money, that is, to some foreign land. But I digress. In any event, we want to ask Justin Trudeau a couple of questions. I think the biggest question is this: why did he freeze the bank accounts of peaceful protesters at the Freedom Convoy last winter, but he can't be bothered to take action against Chinese communists subverting our democracy? You may recall the government of China interfered in the 2019 election, supporting 11 Liberal candidates that year. And Trudeau claims he was never briefed on this, even though CISA says he was. How about another couple of questions? I'd like to know what his reaction was to Justice Rouleau having Brandon Miller escorted by security out of the Emergencies Act inquiry earlier today. And of course, was that really a Liberal operative that was waving a Nazi flag on the initial day of the Freedom Convoy protest? Well, there's a hot potato issue for the little potato, as they call him in China. How about this? Can we trust Commissioner Rouleau to call a fair game when it comes to the Emergencies Act inquiry? So many questions. But as you know, we are persona non grata. We've seen the mainstream media be warmly welcomed into the venue. But Lincoln and I are going to go to the hotel, wait for the convoy to come. He's always late to these events. And then we're going to try to scrum him. Hopefully, we won't have a repeat of what happened to Lincoln and I last December. You remember that? Check it out. What are you doing? Get off me. Hey, I can. Hey, this is assault. I'm on a side. What is this? I'm on a sidewalk. I am on a side. What is this? You cannot touch me. No rushing order. Hey. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Let go of me. What is this? You can't. Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest? Because otherwise you have no right. Get on my side. Huh? Huh? Yeah, so not only did they beat me up, not only did they break my watch, but I suspect they gave me COVID. It was just a couple of days later, I came down with COVID after being a picture of health for more than 2.5 years. And it was revealed in the media that half of Justin Trudeau's security detail were COVID positive. Despicable, but that's the police state we're in, folks. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police are now the Royal Canadian Mounted Henchmen, and they do Justin Trudeau's dirty work. In any event, we're going to mosey on over to the main entrance and see if this Prime Minister will at least attempt to answer a couple of our questions. Oh, Mr. Trudeau, why did you freeze the bank accounts of innocent Canadians and you're turning a blind eye to the subversion by the Chinese government? Why are you following us? To get into the darkness? Huh? What's that? Yeah, I'm leaving.
Okay, then leave.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah, I don't even know who you are. You got what is that little badge on you there?
You've been asked to leave.
Well, folks, we're getting nowhere here. Once again, Justin Trudeau's Royal Canadian henchmen do not believe in a free press. Well, folks, maybe that last line I uttered isn't completely true. It's not that Trudeau and his cronies don't believe in a free press. It's just that their definition of a free press involves journalists who are government funded, you know, so that they know their role and they don't ask any insensitive or impolite questions. Yep, welcome to the Dominion of Canada in 2022, in which the media watchdogs have become Trudeau's lapdogs. And if you dare show up to a Trudeau event as an independent journalist, well, expect Trudeau's thugs to get handsy with you. What a disgrace. In any event, you had plenty to say about this latest affront to freedom of the press, the independent press, that is. Red Maple Leaf writes, ever since that happened to you, David, with Trudeau's thugs, I've wanted to leave this country. I actually hate Canada now. Trudeau has turned it into a shithole, and I don't want to be here paying taxes that go into supporting him and his effing goons. Well, Red Maple Leaf, I appreciate your kind words, but let's not give up on our great Dominion right now. Not quite yet. Undeniably, this country is not the same place it was just 7 years ago. But in the months ahead, let's pray for regime change. Let's hope we can indeed make Canada great again. Tom in Back writes, the Menzoid needs to be wearing his baseball cleats when he goes to interview Justin Trudeau. When FJT's detail back him up against the wall, get him with the spikes. Well, actually, Tom, unlike Trudeau's security detail, I really don't want to hurt anybody. I just want to do my job. But last year, I did buy a new set of steel-toed boots to prevent my toes from being stepped on. That's one of the tactics his henchmen use. They purposely stand on your feet. The reason is that this act of violence is not typically caught on camera. And if it is captured on camera, well, they say it was an accident. What horrible Mounties these jerks are. Clint SB writes, only the paid propaganda arm of the government can have access. Bingo, Clint. What we are seeing now in Canada with the legacy media being funded by the Trudeau Liberals, it is something that is both unethical and immoral. How can media outlets have the chutzpah to claim they are impartial when the government itself is funding these outlets to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars per year, and of course in the case of the CBC, more than $1 billion annually? What a joke. Sir Sunrise writes, the dictator has more guards around him than Biden has. We need to start a criminal tribunal for Trudeau ASAP. I would love to see such a tribunal, but given the climate of our country right now in terms of the political arm and the bureaucracy, what are the odds that Justin Trudeau would skate once again? Unbelievable. And one John Henry writes, David, the answer is quite obvious. The PM is incompetent and unqualified to run a small third world country like Canada. You know, that's a good point, Mr. Henry. I never thought of that angle. The fact that Justin needs the help of the Beijing mandarins to run a proper and efficient dictatorship. It now makes more sense than ever that before he became Prime Minister in 2015, that Justin Trudeau publicly proclaimed his admiration for the dictatorship in China. You cannot make this stuff up, folks. Well, that wraps up another edition of Rebel Roundup. Thanks so much for joining us. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. See you next weekend. Hey, folks, never forget, without risk, there can be no glory. Good night.